In 1580, under Oda Nobunaga's orders, Toyotomi Hideyoshi laid siege to Tottori Castle. Soldiers and peasants fled inside the castle walls, where the Toyotomi forces then proceeded to starve them out. For 4 months, the soldiers and peasants waited behind the walls, slowly starving to death as food supplies dwindled. Their cries could be heard all around from the top of the mountain, and those who saw the soldiers remarked that they were so emaciated that they looked like ghouls. Some, it was said, even turned to cannibalism in their final hours. Children in the area grew up knowing not to go near the castle ruins at night, but the same couldn't be said for those outside the prefecture. They arrived at the castle late that night after a long drive. They had picked Tottori Castle for a bout of kimodameshi, to test their bravery. If it really was as scary as people said, then who would be the first chicken to run? As the group of university students got out of their car, they inspected the scene before them. It didn't look like much. Mostly some stone walls on a hill. But still, if it was as haunted as people said it was, they were hoping to experience it for themselves. They reached halfway up and stopped to sit on some benches. The view was great, even at night. Peaceful, even. But then, he felt something cold on his ankle. He looked down and screamed. A white hand reached out from beneath the bench, wrapping itself tightly around his ankle. He jumped up and ran, screaming that something had grabbed him, but nobody else had seen it. They laughed and told him to quit playing around, leaving him standing there dumbfounded as they continued up the hill. But he knew what he'd seen. He could still feel the icy grip on his ankle. Still, not wanting to be left behind, he quickly followed his friends. At the top, they found a memorial stone dedicated to those who had lost their lives in the castle all those centuries ago. All was quiet, or at least, it had been. Something rattled nearby, like the sound of a soldier's armor. They all turned around at the same time, but the sound vanished. This time, they'd all heard it, and a chill settled over the area. They'd seen enough history for one night. It was time to go home. As the story goes, in 1580, Toyotomi Hideyoshi received orders from Oda Nobunaga to attack Tottori Castle. The region was controlled by the Mori clan, and Kikkawa Tsuneiye oversaw the castle. Also known as Mount Kyusho Castle, named for the mountain the castle was built on, it was a yamashiro, a castle built into a mountain that used the natural features to its advantage. Toyotomi brought with him 20,000 men, and the Mori forces quickly retreated into the castle walls. Unfortunately for them, the castle only held provisions for 20 days, and Toyotomi arrived with a plan. That plan was to starve the opposing army to death. He waited with his forces outside the castle walls for close to 4 months, his men watching as both soldiers and citizens behind the castle walls slowly starved. It's been reported that the Mori forces were on the verge of cannibalism when Kikkawa finally decided to surrender, although, according to some reports, a few soldiers did resort to eating the dead. There's no confirmation of this one way or the other, but Kikkawa agreed to kill himself and the defeated army was taken prisoner by the Toyotomi forces. In an ironic twist, once the starving men received food from their oppressors, some of them ate so much that they got sick and then died from overeating instead. Little remains of the castle today other than some stone ruins, but it remains a popular tourist attraction, and, if you believe the stories, a fearsome ghost spot as well. People claim that you can hear the moans of the starving soldiers late at night, and numerous white hands appear out of nowhere, grabbing for passers-by. You might also come across the spirits of those soldiers slain in battle, and perhaps a mysterious woman in a kimono who floats around the ruined remains. On April 21st, 2017, Fuji TV aired a program called Utsuchatta Eizo (GP). The program featured videos sent in by viewers that appeared to show all sorts of strange phenomena, ranging from UFOs, cryptids, and, of course, ghosts. Nakagawa Shoko, a popular Japanese talent, visited the Tottori Castle ruins for a special feature and shared various rumours about the site. Amongst those, she claimed that the bones of those who had starved inside the castle walls were still buried beneath the ground, and that a mirror in the public toilets had been removed because people kept seeing ghosts in it. This made for great TV, but 2 months later, the Tottori prefectural governor sent Fuji TV a fax. In the fax, he addressed several of the claims the Utsuchatta Eizo GP show made regarding Tottori Castle and, point by point, refuted each one. It had taken him 2 months because, unlike the TV program, he had done his due diligence in digging up the truth, and he called them out for their laziness. For example, the show claimed that 4,000 people had fled into the castle walls to starve, yet no numbers were ever written anywhere in historical records. The show claimed that Kikkawa committed seppuku at the top of the mountain, yet official records stated that he did so in the castle's hiroma, or guest room. The show claimed that there was a memorial stone in the castle grounds, dedicated to those who starved to death, yet it was actually for those who died while developing the castle town. There was no memorial stone specifically for the 1580 battle. The show also claimed that peasants who starved were buried within the outer citadel of the castle, yet, at the time, those walls didn't even exist, so that would have been highly unlikely. And as for the claim that the toilet had no mirror because people kept seeing ghosts, it broke, he said, so we removed it. Fuji TV later posted an apology on their website, apologising for their mistakes and the fact that they didn't check their sources well enough. While the governor was happy for the exposure the show brought the area, that exposure coming at the expense of the truth was not a good look for either party. The channel then promised to implement a new system to fact-check all future programs. As an interesting side note, in 2013, a competition was held to choose Tottori's new mascot character. The winning character was drawn by a man who enjoyed walking through the castle remains. Her name was Katsue-san, and she was based on a starving woman from the Tottori Castle siege. Katsu comes from Katsue-jini, meaning to die of starvation. The woman had grey skin, wore an old, tattered kimono, and was holding an upside-down frog by the leg. Yet, so many people complained that 3 days later, she was removed from her winning position. Katsue-san's follow-up character was much less impactful, however, and to this day, many clamour to have her back. Tottori Castle's ruins have a long and brutal history, and due to that, there are all sorts of rumours surrounding the area. As with most ghost spots, it's important to separate the facts from fiction, and while it's fun to enjoy the fiction, it shouldn't overshadow the truth either. Ghost spots are ripe for groundless rumours, and enjoying those is perfectly fine. But we should remember that most of the time, they are just that, rumours. And sometimes, the real truth can be even more shocking. But what do you guys think about this one? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.